the privilege.
Well, we've got a full house here this afternoon at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana for Super Bowl 14's final performance. And Mike Snyder, the last three classes here this weekend are very exciting.
We're really going to round things out with a bang, Dave. We'll start out with the 7,000 Super Stock. And in this class, you probably have as good a variety of color. Internationals, John Deere's, everybody's in this class. Then we go to the 6,200-pound two-wheel drives, a real exciting class, and we'll finish out today with the 11,000-pound open.
All right, the 11,000-pound open traditionally has been the final class here. This is where the big boys come down. This is top fuel if you're in drag racing. Any favorites there today?
It's really hard to say, Dave. The best the sport has to offer is here, and we'll get to see the 4-engine Allison tractor run for the very first time today. And that'll be a show in itself. We've never had a tractor go down the track with 4 Allison aircraft engines in it before.
A story has been developing all week long, and that's, of course, all the new winners that we've had here at the Indy Super Bowl. And the big story is the Banner brothers have not won a class yet and haven't even been in the winner's circle yet, Mike. What do you think will happen in the 11 with them?
Well, I'm sure they'll be trying real hard in that 11 open. Of course, they've won it, the past 3 years, I believe. So I'm sure Ralph and Dave want to leave with a win today.
All right, 6 engines the Banner brothers will be running. We'll have 5 and several other tractors. Engler, of course, has already won 1 class, so he's going to try to go after 2 in a row. So 3 big classes, the final performance of Indy Super Bowl 14.
And he wants to hang on to number 1.
Well, Mike Snyder, here we go with the 4th and final session of pulling as Counter presents the Nationwide Auto Parts Indy Super Bowl 14. This is it, always a very popular afternoon of competition here on Sunday afternoon. So we've got the 7,500-pound Super Stock, then the heavyweight two-wheel drive trucks, and then we're going to wind up with the 11,000-pound Unlimited, and all 3 classes exciting in their own right. We start things off here in the 7,000-pound Super Stock, popular because of the weight-horsepower ratio. We're going to see a couple of new tractors in here. But we're going to start things off now with Neil Gettinger out of Milton, Indiana, with the D21.
You know, Dave, I think the 7 Super is probably my favorite Super Stock class. You see as good a variety of different brands of tractors in this class as you do any of the Super Stock classes.
We're also going to see a lot of new names, including Bob Russell of Iowa, Warren Roth, the champion and the NTPA champion from Kelowna, Iowa. We're going to see, of course, Esden Lane, who's been a past champion, Tom Dickerson out of Olean, New York with his IH, Alfred Wilds, also Alan Brabeck and Tom Casting. Here comes now Buckeye Thunder, Neil Gettinger powering down the track out of Milton, Indiana, and he's going to fall short.
Still looks like he might have some of the problems he had last night in the 9.
187.2, the distance for Neil Gettinger. New York, that's where St. Bonaventure's from. Here he comes. This is our first look at him this week, and this has always been a great tractor in the 5,000 and 7,000-pound classes. The 20-mule team, pulling team, Tom Dickerson, over on the right-hand side of the track, comes to a halt at 2:29.11, and he takes the lead. All righty, here's Tom Casting now. Our first look at him out of Franklin, Indiana. John Deere 4430. And Mike, we haven't seen too many Ford Charger systems, but it looks like we've got one here.
Yeah, I believe we do, Dave. I'll tell you, Tom's a long-time John Deere puller, and it looks like he's got a few problems there. It just didn't come alive out of the hole.
I said we haven't seen too many Ford Charger systems. I met on a John Deere. Hoosier Deere, nice name on it, but no power here this afternoon. Whether he's going to try to come back right now or drop the last in the class, we'll find out real quick, but it just doesn't look like he's got enough power to keep her going today as they get ready to unhooking. And they're giving us a distance now of 70.2 feet. Here's Neil Gettinger out of Milton, Indiana with a John Deere 4010. And Mike, this was always a popular tractor in the 7,000-pound class for years and years.
Yeah, and it still is, Dave. The 4010 John Deere is kind of the, I don't know what you call it, the workhorse of the newer series John Deere tractors. They've been around a long, long time.
Neil Gettinger 2:22.4 as he comes to a halt. Here's the defending NTPA Grand National Champion in the 7,000-pound class, Warren Ropp out of Kelowna, Iowa, where the Ropps are involved with a John Deere dealership. And, of course, he just won so many of the top honors this past season in super stock pulling. They really look tough, and just great to see a John Deere winning that 7,000-pound class. Iron Elk, he calls it, as he brings it off the line. He'd like to take Super Pole win as well. But he's coming up just a little bit short down there at the end of the track. No, it's a full pole. It's a full pole. For a while, we didn't think he was going to make it. It's a full pole for Warren Ropp out of Iowa. Bill Berg out of Farmingham, Minnesota now. He'd like to get it out the end as well with his International 3688. And Mike, we talked a little bit earlier about the lowered front end on these tractors. Explain this just a little bit.
Well, Dave, they dropped the front end down because once the front end is over center and low like that, it's harder to pick up. So again, leverage comes into play and more weight transfer to the rear wheels of the tractor.
It worked here. A full pole for Bill Berg.
Sure did.
We've got 2 out the gate so far. Here's Neil Gettinger now out of Milton, Indiana with the D21 Buckeye Thunder.
I guess he did not take his first pole, Dave. We thought he did, but...
Well, now we've received word from trackside that he did not take that first pole. He dropped 6 positions. So here he comes as he powers down the track with another disappointing distance.
No, he's still got some problems somewhere.
187.2.
All right, Max Simpson up now from Charlotte, Michigan on his AC D21. And Dave, this is really Max's class. Of the 3 Superstock classes this tractor competes in, this is his.
He's been a champion in this class before. The horsepower to weight ratio is just right. Look at him go. Look at him go.
Just carrying the front end.
Look at that. Look at that. Full pull. And Max Simpson now is in the pull-off.
Tom Castings had trouble on his first attempt. He dropped 6 places to see if he could get his problems worked out. He's back now with 1 attempt left.
John Deere 4430 with the Ford turbocharger system. And like Mike said, he dropped 6 positions. We gave an earlier distance of 70.2. I believe that might have been erroneous.
I still don't think he's got his problems worked out.
No. Well, it's disappointing all the way around for Hoosier Deere. Yeah. Mark Gettinger now out of Milton, Indiana. This is another one of their tractors, the D21. This is the old Case tractor's got a good shot of making a full pull, Mike.
It's been a good running tractor for a long time, Dave, and it looks like he's going to make her all the way down the track.
Yeah, he takes it out without any problems at all. That's another full pull, and we're headed for a fairly large pull-off here in the 7000 Super. Well, we sort of missed Coleman Wheatley a little bit from the East Coast, but here's a guy that fills in very nicely for him.
That's right, Dave. Alfred Wiles from Mount Airy, Maryland, on a John Deere 4430. Looks like he's got a good run going, right straight. Well, not real straight.
Super Tiger. I love the paint job on the side of that tractor.
Good looking John Deere.
226 and 2 for Alfred Wiles. Here's our first look this weekend at Robert Russell of Prescott, Iowa, with an International 3688 tractor, very capable. Look at him turn the tires with workhorse.
Boy, those wheels are really going around. Rob just come in on the NTPA circuit this year, but he's been running extremely tough.
And he takes it out without any problem at all. Bob Russell, full pull. Well, Esden Lane, as you mentioned before, there are certain classes where tractors perform better at, and even though he's good in all 3, he loves the 7.
Yep, this is Esden's class. Esden from Dayton, Minnesota with an IH 1486.
He can turn the tires, and this is a Ford turbocharger system?
I don't think it is, Dave. I think well, he's got 2 exhaust stacks, so obviously it is.
Make a lot of power, and he's going to come up short. He is going to be short, and that's a very disappointing blow to him. Here's the distance, 231 and 9. Here's Alan Brabeck out of Albert City, Iowa. And a couple of years ago, the Brabeck brothers came out with this AC 8050, and it's the only one like it that I know of on the circuit today, Mike.
That's right, Dave. They call it the Imposter. And they've been trying a few things a little differently on this tractor, and they've been having a lot of problems over the years, but when it runs, it really runs strong.
Built primarily for the 7,000-pound class.
That's right. That's an awful big tractor to take down to 7,000 pounds. But
got a lot of iron off. Imposter, like the name on it, a Ford turbocharger system, rather. The Alex Chalmers 8050 new style tractor.
Just quit running on him there at the end of the track.
And the distance, 198.5. Here we go now in the pull-off. 5 tractors, 1 John Deere, 2 Alice Chalmers, 2 Case Internationals. And this is what makes the 7 Super Stocks so good, Mike, is the variety of color, the variety of tractors.
That's right. It's good to see a John Deere in there. You don't see a John Deere running real strong in the heavy classes except for this one. This one's strong in the 7, 9, and the 11,000-pound class.
All right, the defending Grand National Champion, Warren Ropp, coming back now in the number 1 spot here with his 4430. He had a full pull the first time around from Kelowna, Iowa. Of course, the Brabecks and the Klugs and Ernie and Warren Ropp, the Ropp family. A lot of super stock pullers coming out of Iowa, for some of the modified dragster tractors coming a little bit more back from the eastern part of the Midwest. Here we go now. Coming off the line, they've added more weight to the sled. It's a bigger load. Iron Elk. And he's got a nice run going. It got way over there to the right-hand side of the track for a while. It looked like he was going to go out of bounds. But
yeah, he had to hit that left brake, and that definitely cost him some distance.
Here's the distance for Warren Ropp in the pull-off, 2:03.7. Here's Bill Berg in the pull-off from Farmington, Minnesota, for the International 3688. He's got a shot. With Berg never enough. Look at that pick up the front end. He's got to beat 2:03.7. Got a shot. Here he goes. He's got power to spare. He passes the flag, but poof, a lot of black smoke. Looks like he broke a hose rather right at the end.
Something let go underneath the hood there, Dave.
And the distance 2:16.6. He's going to take the lead, and boy, that's going to be a strong run to beat. And I guess if you're going to break something, you might as well do it right at the end of your run.
Yeah, after it's over, that's the only time to do it.
Max Simpson out of Charlotte, Michigan with the Alice Chalmers D21. Never count this guy out because they've had national championships in this class. They can come close. He'll give it everything he's got. The tractor's balanced just properly. He comes off the line looking very nice. Mean old Alice. Look at that. Look at that. He's picking up the front end. Boy, he's got a great run going. And he's going to spin out. This is going to be close. Nope, he's going to come up about 10 feet short at 2:05.7.
Mark Gettinger up now in the pull-off with his AC D21.
Of course, here's the puller from Milton, Indiana, the old Cates tractor, which has always run good. I tell you, the Gettingers got their hands full with all these.
Boy, they really run a bunch of machinery now, don't they? They used to be just strictly John Deere, but now they've got 2 D21s.
All right, look at this coming down the track. Got his foot on the brake, trying to keep it steady.
Oh, it quit on him right there at the end.
199.3 here in the pull-off. Here's Rob Russell out of Prescott, Iowa, the final puller here in the 5-way pull-off in the 7,000-pound super stock. He brings her off the line, cranking the tires, turning them hard. 3688 Case International, the workhorse, and he's working right down toward the end of the run, but he's going to come up a couple feet short of Bill Berg. Here's the final distance for Rob Russell, 2:04.10. Here are the final results now in the 7,500-pound super stock class of session number 4 at the Indy Super Bowl 14. Bill Berg wins it out of Farmingham, Minnesota, with his International 3688 in the pull-off, 2:16.6. Max Simpson was second with the ACD 21 in the pull-off, 2:05.7. Rob Russell finished number 3 at 2:04.10. Warren Ropp, number 4 with the John Deere, the defending national champion, at 2:03.7. And the 5th and final puller in the pull-off, Mark Gettinger from Milton, Indiana, with the D21 at 199.3. A 5-way pull-off won by Bill Berg of Minnesota.
Well, I think I've been here probably about 5 times, and this is my first win, so it's a very good feeling.
Well, congratulations. Any strategy that you used out on the track today?
Well, I guess the first run we had a pretty good run, maybe a little bit of a slow start, so we took off 75 pounds in the second run on the front end.
So ran a little bit lighter. Did you have to touch the brakes very much?
I touched the brakes quite a bit at the beginning. It wobbled a little bit, but I guess I'm very satisfied right now.
Well, congratulations on your first win after 5 years here at the Indy Super Bowl. Bill Berg.
The 6200 two-wheel drive truck class, always a very exciting class. We saw Floyd Hilton yesterday afternoon. That would be Saturday afternoon, session 2. Floyd's toy number 2, the 81 Dodge Omni, always looking super out there in a wild paint scheme as his son Ed comes out there to help him back up to the sled. And Mike, the drivers in these funny cars and funny trucks can't turn around, or many of them can't turn around in the driver's seat, so they've got to have somebody out there to help back up to the sled.
That's right, Dave. In a lot of ways, it's just like drag racing when they make a burnout and someone comes down and guides the car back in the exact tracks that it left across the starting line. You want to back up to the center of the sled and get square and straight in front of it so that when you go to take off, that the sled doesn't try to take you one way or another. And that's why Ed's out there helping Floyd get backed up square with the front of the sled.
Running a 427 blown Chevrolet. Mike, we haven't talked about the amount of fuel, alcohol that you will run through a blown engine, let's say on a 240-foot track indoors. Any guess how much alcohol they burn through a motor?
Oh, I'd say they'd probably run 4 or 5 gallons of alcohol through the engine in one run. It takes a lot more alcohol, Dave, than it does gasoline to create the same amount of horsepower. But alcohol burns a lot cooler. And in fact, even though these engines don't have any kind of water or any type of coolant in them, as soon as it pulls over, if they let them idle for a moment, they'll just cool themselves right down.
And you'll hear that happen at the end of a run. So here we go now, starting the 6200 two-wheel drive trucks on session number 4, the Indy Super Bowl 14. Here he comes now. Floyd's toy number 2, making a good run with the 81 Dodge Omni. You'd never recognize this, though, as a Dodge Omni. Look at this, straight down the track.
Right down the middle.
And that's going to give Floyd Hilton a run of 2:10 and 7. Here's the truck they call Fast Forward. He has a series of Mr. Video shops. We're talking about Chuck Chitwood out of Lafayette, Tennessee, in a 1955 Chevrolet. This will bring back memories because, Mike, this was a very popular truck that Chevrolet put out. There were a lot of these produced, and you'll still find them around on the roads, and many of them have been customized.
Boy, that is a good-looking old 55, isn't it?
Well, he's got a lot more power now in this truck than they had in 1955.
Just a little bit more.
Chuck Chitwood has pulled a lot this past season.
We've seen him up in Canada this summer, up at Warren Power's Pull at Inwood, Ontario.
And we've seen him at a lot of TNT sanctioned events. So Chuck Chitwood out of Lafayette, Tennessee, trying to record a full pull. And here he comes now as he leaves the line, trying to make a smooth run. It's important that you leave the line smooth. And some of the guys will put the hammer down. He's got a lot of speed here, Mike.
Yeah, excellent run.
And he lifts right at the end of his run. Not a bad pull at all for Chuck Chitwood out of Lafayette, Tennessee, 55 Chevrolet. And his distance, 2:16 and 10.
Chuck.
All right, here's the other half of the In-Laws and the Outlaws backing up to the sled. This time, Dan Biebrich doing the driving for Jim Brockman. And, of course, Biebrich was also not allowed to come to the line on Saturday afternoon. But they're making up for it today. This is the 49 International Panel Van. And, Mike, this has the original nameplate in the truck that it came with. This truck was found basically as a piece of junk. They did a lot of patchwork on it. And it's a gorgeous-looking 49 panel van. However, they have not lengthened the wheelbase of this like they did the 41 Dodge. Basically, it has the same power plant in it, the big Aries. This is the truck that has been sold to a puller on the East Coast after this run here this afternoon. Here they come now, the In-Laws and the Outlaws, probably the most famous two-wheel drive pulling team in all of America. Dan Biebrich sitting right in the middle of the truck. Good run, but he's going to come up a little short at 2:29 and 9.
Coming up now is Leo Kay from Bradford, Pennsylvania, with an 84 Corvette with a big Arius engine out in the front end.
And you can see the body sets high. There was some discussion by a number of the other pullers that thought it looked a little awkward. But when he runs down the track, it doesn't look particularly awkward, and he makes a lot of good pulls, I'll tell you, Mike.
Especially if you're behind it.
Got a brand new bus, we understand, a big motor coach that he likes to drive around the country. That'll be his new sleeping quarters, along with his tractor-trailer rig that holds the equipment. And he was out to the NTPA banquet in Las Vegas, drove the bus all the way out there. He enjoys pulling. It's a family sport for the entire family, and they just enjoy going around the country. This is how he gets his kicks when they're not drilling oil wells. Here he comes now, Leo Kay with the driller. He lifts, doing a big wheelie, very aerodynamic styled car, that Aries, and you can just see bouncing down there in that last.
Yeah, I think the clutch started to let go a little bit there towards the end. That caused the tires to slow down.
5 or 6 feet, he might have lost a foot or two in his pull. Leo K at 2:21 and 2. All right, here comes the professor, Wayne Roush, with the 1982 Little Red Dodge truck. Earlier, he had made a run and turned that pole down, so he's coming back now 6 positions later. Wayne Roush now with a 582 cubic inch Keith Black Chrysler Hemi. We've heard so much about the KBs over the years, especially in drag racing. However, they've not been as popular here in pulling, Mike, as we've seen in drag racing. Why is that?
Well, I really can't answer that question, Dave. The Keith Black Hemi is a solid aluminum racing engine like the Arius or the Rodec, only it is styled after a Chrysler Hemi. It's almost identical to a Chrysler Hemi.
All right, here he comes now, making a nice smooth run. This lengthened wheelbase this year has really helped a lot by putting a couple feet in there, and he's got a good run going down the track. Wayne has a brand new 1923 Model T pickup out on the circuit as well. It's not here at Super Pole 14, but you'll see it later on if you follow pulls around the country. Here's the distance for Wayne Roush. Sort of a disappointing 2:27 and 7. Well, he would have been the favorite on Saturday afternoon if they'd have been able to bring it to the line, but they didn't quite make it. So here we go now, the in-laws and the outlaws. They've already pulled Dan Biebrick with the 49 International panel van, but here comes the truck which they consider a little stronger truck. I think one of the reasons because of the lengthened wheelbase, this being the 41 Dodge, driven by Jim Brockman.
That's right, Dave. They lengthened the wheelbase out on this truck at the beginning of this season, and as we've said before many times, there's just no substitute for the leverage exerted on the longer wheelbase.
And at the same time, last year when they were here, they had the Rodex. Now they've got the Aries engines, and they consider a little bit more power.
Yes, I believe they do. They're a pretty stout motor.
All right, here we come now. Jim Brockman from New Haven, Indiana, just outside of Fort Wayne. He's on it. He's on it. Look at the speed he's got. He's wiggling around a little bit. He can raise that front end and still make good pulls. Look at him go. A full pull for Jim Brockman as he drops that front end down hard. What a beautiful paint job on that truck.
Really excellent run.
Panel van of Jim Brockman, our first full pull this afternoon. All right, here we go now. Gator Country, the Florida Cracker. Here's the 86 Ford pickup. And Mike Snyder, Chris Holdorf with his van and his pickup, basically running the same motor in each.
Yeah, he's running what they call an AR Ford. It's actually a 427 Ford, but it's built by Arius. And as we've mentioned before, this engine actually carries a Ford part number. You can go right to your Ford dealer and buy one just like it if your checkbook's big.
All right, now, okay. We're not talking about 427 cubic inches finally. It's got to be more cubes than that, isn't it?
Oh, I imagine it is. I'm not quite sure what the exact cubic inch is, but it's a super stout motor.
Look at this. Look at this. He's up on 2 wheels, bouncing it around, comes up a little bit short at 231 and 9, about 5 feet short of a full pull here in session number 4 at Indy Super Pole 14. Holdorf pulling back to back, and you talk about backs. Well, the rear end of that machine is quite a paint job, and everybody always likes to take a look at Chris Holdorf's 87 Ford Aerostar van out of Winter Park, Florida. He's already had some pretty good runs in the earlier 2-wheel drive class, and now he's got a shot at going for the lead here as well, but he needs a full pull to tie Jim Brockman's distance. So Chris Holdorf, and it was last summer, if I remember, when they brought out the Ford Aerostar up at Cayuga, Canada, that NTPA Grand National event.
You don't see too many Aerostars with a wheelbase like that one has it.
No, you know, I love the aerodynamics, although I don't think they have to worry about the aerodynamics during tractor and truck pulling. Here he comes off the line. Look at this.
Pretty good-sized gator on the side of it.
Boy, I guess it is. I don't think they've got any gators that big in the whole state of Florida. Here he comes now. You can see he's sitting right there and behind the engine, and he makes a full pull, barely getting it out the gate. A full pull for Chris Holdorf. All right, here's Chuck Johnson out of Hallowell, Kansas, with a 76 Chevy Love. We saw him pull on Saturday afternoon in session number 2.
Yeah, he was our test puller Saturday afternoon in Shazam.
Probably the most beautiful paint job in the entire class. So this just goes to show you that you can take an older model truck. This is a 73 Chevy Love, and if you got a stout motor that you can put in there and you can build a nice body, you can have a lot of fun. This is the only vehicle that the Johnsons pull. He used to pull a twin-engine dragster tractor in the 5,000 and 7,000 pound class for many, many years out in Kansas, but he felt that the future, at least in his part of the country, was in the two-wheel drive trucks. Now he makes a nice, smooth start. He starts to lift now. Here again, he's got the lengthened wheelbase as well. He comes up. Boy, that's a smooth run. And, you know, we've seen so many great runs by all of the pullers. The distance for Chuck Johnson, missing a pull-off by about 4 feet at 2:31 and 11. Here's the truck they call Bushwhacker, the Chicken Man, for those that follow TNT tractor and truck pulling. This was built by Humco Machine in northeastern Ohio. And here comes Terry Raudebush now. Terry Raudebush didn't have a particular good run in the lighter weight two-wheel drive class. Terry Raudebush from Hanoverton, Ohio, same place where Dave Haley, the former president of NTPA, is from. This is a 73 Chevrolet Bushwhacker, good-looking truck.
I think Terry's pulled in this two-wheel drive class ever since its inception a few years ago.
And has always been very, very consistent. Well, we see that we're getting the truck hooked up just right. The green light comes on, and here he comes off the line after getting the green flag from the starting flagman. Terry Raudebush on his way. He's got a good run going here, Mike Snyder.
Yeah, not too bad. Looked like he might have been just a tad heavy on the front end there to begin with. The front end was kind of dropping back on the track.
A little bit of smoke there at the rear. He didn't burn those tires at the back, did he, Mike?
Oh, not really. Just past the finish line, the track is extremely hard. Of course, that's really not part of the track anymore, you know, because it's past the finish line. But they leave it that way so it doesn't get tore up. And I don't know, sometimes it kind of keeps you from having too many full pulls.
All right, Terry Raudebush's distance as we get another look at it here, 2:32 and 1. He comes about 4 feet from the end of making a full pull. Ken Lamont from Crossville, Illinois, won the lightweight class. Remember, Mike, in spectacular fashion, he won that 5,800, last guy in the class, made the great run, and won it. But, boy, he's got to make a full pull here today. This afternoon, the 1985 El Camino, and this is about the only El Camino that I know of on the circuit. Absolutely gorgeous machine, the Midnight Express.
He's got his work cut out for him this afternoon, no, Dave.
Yeah, I do believe. Got one of the biggest motors of the class. He used to run an injected motor in this truck before he went to the supercharged engine and moved up with the big boys. And, boy, he's been tough ever since.
That's right. I guess when Ken first started pulling, he pulled single-cylinder garden tractors many years ago.
Midnight Express leaving the line up a little high on the wheelie to begin with. And now he's getting real sky high, losing the drawbar, losing the pull down from the sled, and is going to bounce to a halt at 2:28 and 4, far off the pace of what he recorded earlier in the lightweight class the day before. Here's Nolan Hall now, leaving the line out of Mason, Michigan, the 1985 Ford Ranger called the Lone Ranger. And he's got a good run going. Everybody's a very professional driver in this class. Nolan Hall, though, going to come up short with the 85 Ford at 2:16 even. So now we go to the pull-off. It'll be between Brockman and Holdorf. It'll be between Dodge and Ford. And it'll be a knockdown, drag-out battle. Well, Jim Brockman was sort of sad yesterday, Mike, but now he's got to be happy. He's in the pull-off. He's looked very good today with his 41 Dodge, and this is where he wanted to be. Remember, it was he and his son that did so well before here at Super Pull when they won both classes, and they've been tough ever since. Remember, he's a former champion in the mini rod NTPA classes. He didn't feel a couple of years ago there was a bright future in the mini rods. He said, I'm going to have to make a change. It's been a change for the better. He's won a lot of money, won a lot of pulls, been very consistent. And I'll tell you, here's one of the top candidates in America today for a major sponsorship. He's a professional at whatever he does. Here he comes now. This is the pull-off, ladies and gentlemen. He's on his way, the 41 Dodge. The in-laws and outlaws letting it all hang out as the weight box comes up just about all the way to the front. Let's take a look at the distance as it comes in on the laser now. In the pull-off, Brockman's distance to beat, 2:22 and 6. And now there is only one left in the class, Mike. Chris Holdorf out of Winter Park, Florida. If he keeps his mind on it, and maybe with a little bit of coaching help from some of those tractor pullers, he's got a chance to pull it out. He's got to beat 2:22 and 6, so he's got to let it all hang out with this Aerostar 87 van. Here he goes, a perfect run. The front end is up just high, but he's over to the right-hand side of the track, losing valuable footage, and he winds up about 8 feet short at 2:14 and 4. Brockman will finish number 1. Chris Holdorf will finish number 2. Terry Rodebush fails to make the pull-off, but finishes number 3 at 2:32 and 1. Number 4 goes to Chuck Johnson of Hallowell, Kansas at 2:31 and 11. And number 5, Chris Holdorf's 85 Ford pickup truck out of Winter Park, Florida, 2:31 and 9. Once again, a very competitive class in the 6200 two-wheel drive. Up next, the Monsters of the Midway, the third and final class of session number 4 at Indy Super Pull 14, the 11,000-pound unlimited, all the horsepower they can put in a tractor.
Jim Brockman, a real class guy. You won't find him any better than this one right here, ladies and gentlemen. Winning the Sunday afternoon two-wheel drive heavyweight class. Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you, Dave.
And Jim also winning the Kendall Pitt Awards here for an absolutely gorgeous Pitt Awards in the Expo Hall.
Yeah, that's my wife's doing. She got real hot into the balloons and came up with a spiral theme and worked out real good.
All righty now, as we start the 11,000-pound unlimited, let me bring you up to date. We've already made 2 runs, but then they decided to change the weight transfer machine. So we're going to pick it up right here as we restart the class, and David Banner will be number 1. Then we're expecting Mike Holden to come back in behind him. So after a couple of short distances, after Holden, after Banner Orange ran, they decided to restart, and Banner Brothers are coming back number 1. So these 5 Chevrolets will come to life in just a moment or so. And Banner Orange, which is the tractor that's going to be replaced in the remainder of 1987, might be making one of its last runs, Mike. Now, when they hook all of these motors together, a lot of people have asked, and I'm going to ask right now on behalf of many of the fans, just how they hook these motors together. Do they all have to be running fairly equal?
Well, the motors that set in line, of course, are coupled crankshaft to crankshaft with a clutch on the back of the back motor. The motor that sets up on top has its own clutch and goes into another gearbox, but really it's gearboxes that couple all those engines together. But it's the slipper clutches that actually make them work.
Thanks. Banner Orange from Warren, Indiana, 2:11 and 10, just getting past the 200-foot mark. All right, so Mike Holden now will get his second chance after the restart. And he backs up the triple Allison. Now, Mike, we noticed that there are several, like canisters setting on the top of each one of those motors. They look like air cleaners.
Well, they are air cleaners, Dave, on top of carburetors. These 3 Allisons still have the original Allison supercharger on the front end of the engine, and rather than fuel injection like his 4-engine tractor will have on it when it comes up, all 3 of these engines are carbureted.
All right, a supercharger on the front of an Allison, of course, that's stock from way back 40 years ago. How fast are those blades or those fins in there moving?
Well, inside the supercharger is what's called a compressor wheel or an impeller wheel, and the supercharger is gear-driven off the crankshaft. Most of the pullers that are still running that type of blower run what they call the 9.6 blower. In other words, the blower is turning 9.6 times faster than the crankshaft.
So we're talking about if the engine's running 5,000 revolutions, well over 45,000 revs.
That's right.
For the blower. Mike Holden getting over on the right-hand side of the track.
Looks like he had a little backfire out of the one motor there, but everything seems to be all right.
Triple Allisons at 177 even. Even though Gardner Stone has not had what you'd call your absolute best weekend, he has made some spectacular runs, Mike. I think he's got to be very happy with the pulls that he's made, and that on this tough a track, the equipment is held together.
Yes, he has, Dave. Now, these 3 Allisons do not have the crankshaft-driven superchargers on the front end. They're fuel-injected on alcohol, and you can see underneath the air cleaners, those are turbochargers. Of course, the turbochargers are completely shrouded in case he would have some sort of problem or explosion or something.
Is it difficult to get an injection system and the turbocharger system all working together?
Yes, it is. It's very touchy because turbochargers, when they come to life, it happens pretty quick. And the fuel system also has to keep up or the thing will lean out and detonate. So it's a pretty touchy piece of equipment.
Normally this tractor runs best when it gets a little light on the front end. He can carry the front end just like he's doing right now. There goes the general acting like he's in command.
just a little bit short of the end of the track, but still an excellent run.
There's some of the oil burning off a little bit. Gardner Stone, a high distance of 2:27 and 10. Here comes Foolish Flyer now. James Walsh out of Linden Station, Wisconsin. They've got 2 Allisons in the competition today.
You know, Dave, it looks to me like they've done a little changing on that tractor since the last time I've seen it. I noticed down on the front end where the supercharger is, the shroud seems awful long. I wonder if they've put a compound or ox-stage supercharger on that engine.
All right, would that be just a larger supercharger?
No, it's a compound supercharger. In other words, there's 2 superchargers there. The first one picks up the air, squeezes it, sends it to the second one that squeezes it again before it goes into the engine.
Tremendous amount of force of air going into the engine along with all of this fuel. That's what makes horsepower. Here we go now. Foolish Flyers, they bring her off the line from the Badger State.
Just don't seem to be coming alive like it should. I don't know. It could be a fuel problem, or it's hard to say.
Well, the Walsh family has a lot of pulling equipment in competition, a lot of tractors.
And he didn't go 75 foot, so he can back up and still have one more chance to get her going.
Well, we've got a lot of good tractors yet to go. No full pulls so far. But don't forget, Engler hasn't pulled. Banner Brown hasn't pulled. Russ Jansen yet to run.
Steve Jaski. Boy, there's a bunch of good ones left
And
yet.
coming up in a little bit, Mike Holden with the new 4-engine Allison tractor that we've never seen before anywhere in the United States. All right, some of that alcohol burning off there a little bit.
Yeah, these highly either supercharged or turbocharged engines, they have a very complicated fuel system. In fact, there's 2 sets of fuel nozzles on each cylinder. One set that the engine idles around on, then as the boost pressure starts to come up, the fuel flow through the engine almost doubles.
Jim Walsh out of Linden Station, Wisconsin, a disappointing 116.9. Here comes Gardner Stone's other tractor now, Mr. LTL, loud, tough, and lethal. And I'll tell you, anything Gardner Stone builds when it comes to Allisons and injection and turbocharging systems, they are loud, they are tough, and they are lethal. And the guys with the V8 know that Gardner can be right on their tail.
Looks like the engine here on this side may have died. They're going to put a wrench on the clutch shaft, and he'll rev the other engine up, and they'll engage the clutch, which will start the motor on this side. There it goes.
And you can see some flames pop out of that right engine as they check them. Now, Mike, we notice for the novice, people are holding the crew is holding their hand over the exhaust pipes. Wouldn't that burn their hand very quickly?
Well, you wouldn't want to hold it there too long, but there's really no other way to tell if the engine's running. There's nothing, no pulleys or anything that are exposed that you can see whether the engine's actually turning over.
All right. Well, here we come now. Gardner Stone, look at him turn those tires as fast as any Allison you ever want to see. He's on it, doing a big wheelie right down the right-hand side of the track. A big cloud of smoke goes up. Here again, that's that oil, as you indicated before.
It's pulling the oil out of the turbochargers, and it's really not a serious problem, just kind of makes a little bit of smoke.
198.4 for Gardner Stone.
Boys.
Well, we are going to see history made now at Super Pole 14. We've seen history other years when they added the second V8 engine, or when they added the third or the fourth or the fifth or the sixth. We saw history when they went to 2 Allisons, 3 Allisons, and now we see history being made. The first 4-engine modified dragster tractor in America. Mike, tell us, just how did they get 4 Allisons in Mike Holden's tractor from southeastern Ohio?
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, I've been looking at this tractor back in the pit area, and it's just amazing how you can put 4 engines that big and get them as neat and compact as he's got them in that chassis. We saw this tractor running the 5 modified with just 1 engine, and all 4 of those engines have Mike's homemade fuel injection system on it. And I think he had a little problem there in the 5 because it wouldn't hardly run. Now he's got 4 motors in there, and this is the very first trip down the track for it. And
you know, just getting the engines to run and run together and getting it to the line is a real feat within itself. Now, we notice there's a couple of canisters or containers up here on the front of the engines. What would they be used for?
Well, see, each engine has its own fuel tank and all the accessories it needs right with it.
So here he comes, the inaugural run of the 4-engine.
Look at those rear tires go around.
Oh, man, you talk about speed. Look at that, picking it up, man. We've got something coming aboard. in tractor pulling nationwide. Look at that. Unbelievable. Spectacular.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, we need to take our hat off to Mike Holden. Anybody can put 4 Allisons together and make it work the very first trip down the track.
And that tractor will only run in the 11,000-pound unlimited class.
That's right.
Well, I'll tell you, they can be grateful they don't have another 1,500 pounds to play with. Otherwise,
yeah,
Mike might have 5 of them. Right, you're right. Mike Holden, and let's take a look at the distance. 2:19 and 3. Good run for his first time out on the track.
Yeah, like I say, very seldom does a new machine run like that the very first trip down the track.
Well, now we get to a couple of the real heavyweights, a couple of the favorites here in this class. It'll be, most people expected, a Banter-Engler duel, but that has yet to develop because neither one has hooked to the sled. Here comes Tim Engler now, backing up right now. And we also notice that he has expanded and lengthened the fenders on the back of the tractor. Is that basically to keep the dust and dirt away from the engines, Mike, and the driver?
Yeah, he doesn't run air cleaners on any of the motors, Dave, so they put the big wing over the rear tires so that, especially in the summertime when they're outdoors and the conditions get really dusty, that the tires won't throw, well, they will throw some dirt, but it tries to keep it down up around the motors.
All right, so he's got all 5 of those big Aries ready to come to life. We saw him run with 5 engines on session number 3 Saturday night.
Now, we were wondering before how much alcohol one of these things drinks going down the track. I'd hate to venture a guess on how much alcohol he's going to use here in the next few seconds.
Well, when you were talking about burning 4 gallons per engine, he's got 5. You're looking at about a 20-gallon drink here in 240 feet, providing he makes a full pull. Here we come now. Tim Engler off the line, screaming those motors. We've never heard engines run as loud as he's running today. Look at the speed. Look at the power. Look at him fly down the track. A full pull. The crowd erupts here at the Indiana State Fair Coliseum. It's a full pull. Our first one here in the 11,000 Unlimited for Tim Engler out of Princeton, Indiana. Well, now the Banner brothers got to be sweating this one out just a little bit. Normally they're pretty cool, calm, and collected. They haven't done well at Super Pole 14. Engler so far and Freeman have really had, well, they've had the icing on the cake here. And right now Tim Engler is in the lead with the only full pull. That means that Dave Banner on Banner Brown has got to make a full pull here. If he doesn't, the Banners will definitely be snuffed out of winning any class at Super Pole 14 in the 4 different shows in 3 days.
Yeah, Dave, Tim has set the pace, and David definitely has his work cut out for him.
So Banner Brown, the tractor that's done so well for them the last year with the 6 Chevrolets, comes off the line really flying. They pick up the front end as all the tractors have done this weekend. It's been a power track like we haven't seen before, and look at that. He takes her out just about as easy as Engler did, and now we've definitely got a showdown for a pull-off. There may be more, as we've got more tractors yet to run in this class. You can see Bud Jasky now pointing for son Steve as he backs up to the sled. Don't cut out the Blazing Bison 5-engine tractor here as well, because the engines are set in the same configuration as Engler. Although this is not an Engler chassis, this is a Weber chassis out of Wisconsin. Steve Jasky does the driving in the modified dragster tractor classes. His dad drives the 4-wheel drive trucks in those respective classes. The Jaskys from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, just sort of west of the Milwaukee area.
Now, Dave, if you notice, the back 3 motors on this tractor do have air cleaners on them. Steve says that, because of the dirt that the rear tires throw, especially on outdoor tracks, that they decided to run air cleaners on the back 3 motors. These are pretty high-dollar engines to have swallowing dirt and stone and sand and everything else that the tires
do. The air cleaners, I want to ask, really restrict a lot of the airflow?
Not really. These air cleaners are designed for supercharged engines, and they really they do the job as far as keeping the dirt out, but they don't really.
Look at that! Look at that! Oh, a tremendous run.
He started going off the left side of the track. He had to back out of the throttle, and in this heavy class, as fast as the weight's coming on you from the sled, once you back out of it, that's just about it.
I think he'd have had a full pull if he hadn't had to do that.
If he could have stayed in it, it's very likely he would have.
Steve Jasky, 2:18 and 10. It's about 18 feet short of a full pull. Here's Russ Jansen backing up to the sled as we continue along in the battle of the monsters, the big heavy modifieds. the 11,000-pound unlimited, the #1 modified class, many consider. That's why we packed the house here Sunday afternoon at Super Bowl 14. The folks love to see the big monsters run, as well as the other classes. And I'll tell you, these guys have put on a tremendous show. Russ Johnson, Mike, has had a good weekend at Super Bowl 14.
Yeah, I think he has, Dave. This has probably been his best Super Bowl ever. He's done real well in every class in which he's entered.
Well, Russ Jansen, I can remember he's pulled all kinds of tractors. He had singles and twins and then a triple. And
the Senator and all kind of...
Been a good puller over the years. He's pulled a Bowling Green, Fort Recovery, and the Ohio State Fair, his own Illinois State Fair up in Wisconsin. This is a great sport to him, the machinery dealer from northern Illinois. He can lay down a good one. If he can just squeak it out past 236 feet, he can make a full pull and join the other two guys in the pull-off. Here he comes. He's looking good, looking sharp right down the right-hand side of the track, bouncing a little bit, and he comes up slightly short, about 6 feet short, in fact, at 229.8. For Russ Jansen, a Blackhawk special. Here we come now, the entertainer, and this is going to be John B. Walsh out of Austin, Wisconsin. The Walsh brothers have several tractors.
Now, Dave, this is a single carbureted Allison aircraft engine. At one time, this was probably as much power as we thought we'd ever see in this class.
Well, we were talking earlier in some of the classes that back in the mid-70s, in 74, 5, and 6, this was the hot item, a single Allison naturally aspirated motor. Of course, this engine is over 40 years old, but extremely durable engine. Here comes the entertainer. Remember, he's looking at about 1,500 horsepower, competing against these guys with 8, 9, and 10,000 horsepower. Throws a little bit of dirt. Bob Dabrowski has not had the kind of weekend that he would like with the Stinger. He's got the power, but getting those engines to run right and getting that power to the track, well, I tell you, it takes a particular kind of individual, and all of these guys are very knowledgeable of what they do, but it's just the little things that can bug you so much.
That's right, Dave. And of course, how these tractors are built and what kind of power they use and how many engines they use, this is all left up to the ingenuity of each individual puller. Everybody has the combination that they think will work.
Well, of course, we've mentioned many, many times before, these Allisons, 40 years old. The guys with the Allisons like to go against the guys with the high-performance V8s. They like to beat them every once in a while. There's a picture of an airplane on the side. Of course, this was in the Mustang airplane, the P-51 airplanes. These Allisons are in the unlimited hydroplane boats. Very successful over the years. Here comes Bob Dabrowski, the Stinger, the final puller in the class before we go to the pull-off. And Bob Dabrowski spins out at 198.7. And now something that we've all been looking for, a battle of angler and banter. The #1, the #2 tractors in America today as we get ready for the 11,000-pound unlimited pull-off. All right, here we go now. They've added a lot of weight to the sled because they were really hauling the mail. Here he comes now. Tim Engler will really put the hammer down quick. He won't waste many time, or any time as he comes down the track. He's on it. He's powering down the track, powering full power. Blowers wide open, pouring the fuel to it. Look at them churn the dirt up. I'll tell you, they don't have to worry about the track after this class is over because that's when they start digging the dirt out.
That's
right.
So
they're going to tear up the track, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, rather. I'll tell you, we get so doggone excited here in this 11,000-pound unlimited. It's late on a Sunday. Our voices are starting to go just a little bit, Mike, but boy, what a class this has been.
Yeah, Tim made a real good run, you know, in the pull-off. Straight right down the track. That's really going to be a tough one to beat.
Here's the distance, 2:15.8. 2:15.8. It was a good straight run.
Got it.
All right, the distance to beat now, 2:15.8, and I would say right now the Banner brothers are sweating this one out. The 11 and 12,000 pounds as it used to have been called, the unlimited class, this was always their top class. They never really had any problems with this class. They won pull after pull, but now they are being pushed by the rising stars, Tim Engler, out of southwestern Indiana. So here's a couple of Hoosiers battling it out right here for the #1 spot on the 11,000-pound unlimited for 1987 Indy Super Bowl. Here he comes, David Banner, letting it all hang out. Oh, my word! Something has broken off of
Like
that
a motor let go.
That right rear engine. Now the tractor turning sideways. He's bounced around in the seats. It looks like they've had a motor let go on the right-hand side. There's no question about it. Engler is going to win it. Let's check out Dave Banner to see what might have happened on that right rear engine It let go. He might have spilled some oil out on the track. We saw something pop off the front of that right rear motor. There it goes. Looks like a blower belt.
Blower belt could have come off. The engine could have detonated. It's really hard to tell what happened when you've got that many engines in one chassis.
All righty, we're getting word from Ralph Banner that the crankshaft in the right rear engine broke, evidently going down through the pan, putting a hole in the pan of some sort. Oil went down on the track, hit the right rear tire, and of course the tire just spun in that oil, and then the tractor went around to the right because that left tire was digging in.
Right.